Okay. Okay. Hi, Thomas. How are you? Hi, Beatrice. Good to have you guys here. Okay, screen's okay as well. Okay, fantastic, fantastic. Let's begin. So again, I wanted to start off by saying thank you to FX Street for having me here. It's always a pleasure. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Navin Prithyani. I am the mentor at urbanforex.com, senior trader at forexwatchers.com, and CEO and director at uh, Lactar Investments Limited. So we're here today. We're going to do some live analysis together. We're going to watch what the market has to offer. For the most part, it should be quite dead. It might whipsaw here and there due to elections happening in the U.S. So that's going to be something interesting. Yeah, sorry about that. Here's my charts. There you go. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the market has in play in front of us here today. So let's have a look. We'll dive in piece by piece, and we'll take it from there. So the first things we always want to do, that I personally always like to do, is I look at the strength meter. Okay, so here I have it on my Elite Community website. It's right here. If you need this on your own, there is a FX Meter app on the iOS store for Apple. If you just search FX Meter, you'll find it. Okay, so what we're looking at here, let me zoom in a bit so everyone can see. This is a representation of where the power of the market is flowing on the daily charts. Okay, so I always like to keep track of these numbers. So Swiss franc is very weak, euro is very weak. They're out of 7, totally out of 7. So +7 is the strongest extreme, -7 is the most weakest extreme. Okay, so Swiss franc is pretty weak, euro is pretty weak, Aussie is strong, and New Zealand is strong. So euro, Swiss, Aussie, and New Zealand. These are the hot pairs to put our focal point on. So let's start off by looking at each of these groups one by one. Okay, I look at them based on their dailies, but I trade more day trading, intraday and day trading. So I look at them based on the 1 hour and make decisions accordingly to them. Okay, so let's scan them all throughout. Let's take a look at EuroCAD here. Let me clean this up so charts are nice and, okay, no MAs or anything. It's nice and clean. Okay, so I'm looking here at the 60-minute charts, and on Aussie CAD, we can currently see the markets are in an upward flow. Okay, that's not a good sign compared to the strength numbers telling us that it's weaker on the higher time frame. Let's go up to the daily, have a look at that. Okay, you can see on the higher time frame the flow of the market is still down. The sellers are still in control, not unless we get some closes up in this area. If the market starts closing up in that area, then we are looking for a change in direction. But until then, it's still seller's market. Okay, it's still a seller's market. So keeping that in mind, so that's the story for Aussie CAD. So far, Aussie CAD seems to be very, very aggressively strong. Okay, so this is anti-correlation, okay, or anti-power across the board. So that can cause some problems. Okay, Aussie Swiss, okay, it's struggling to go up. It is dragging its way up slowly, 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 unable to make higher highs for a very, very long time, as you can see right here. He's just reached that high, but even then, he's struggling to actually break it and go above. That's telling you that Aussie weakness is still around for the most part. So now, I want you to think of one thing. If Aussie is weak on a higher time frame, right, which has the indication of a larger player, right? The larger players do not trade on the 1 minute, the half a minute, and the 10-second chart. They're mostly fluctuating, rotating their money on a higher time frame because they need to fill in their orders at a large amount, and that takes time. Okay, so you can't rely on a 3-minute chart and hope you got filled in. That's too risky for them. Okay, so they have to play on a bigger chart for when it comes to massive amounts of money. So if the flow on the daily is showing you that trying to get rid of Aussie dollars, what we're trying to look at on the 60 is at what point does the market go up enough that everyone who was a seller in the past might become a buyer. Because the more and more people buy at price, then there's more people willing to buy at this price. Then there's more people willing to buy at a higher price. Okay? at some point the larger player is going to kick back in and saying, okay, I will take that very expensive price that you're willing to pay and I'll sell you everything that I have. Okay? And that's how a smaller time frame, 60-minute in an uptrend that belongs to a 60 daily downtrend, that's how it all plays out. They're waiting for more and more orders to pile up to the buy side. Okay, no one is going to buy down here. More people buy a little bit higher, and most people buy when it's very high. You know, if you want to see examples of that, you can always refer to Bitcoin. Okay, no one buys at this early stage. Only when it goes parabolic is when everyone's interested. Okay, so having that said, Swiss franc, Aussie Swiss franc is showing similar functionality here. Okay, let's take a look at some other pairs. Okay, again, the strength meter was saying Swiss franc, Aussie strong, but Swiss franc is showing you as weak. Okay, Swiss franc across the board is weak, so that's an interesting thing to note as well. That Swiss franc, on the other hand, seems to be telling you that it's weak. That means this chart. Oh, sorry, am I reading this incorrectly? It's Aussie is a +5. I'm sorry about that. Aussie is +5, which means the strength has come. Sorry about that. The strength has come in. So suddenly the Aussies are in power. I believe I was mixing this yesterday's numbers because when I was looking at this, Aussie was extremely weak. No? No? Okay. I'll have to look into this again one more time. Okay, so it's actually telling us Aussie is quite strong across the board. So then that changes things. That changes things. Let me go back to Aussie CAD. Okay, what we're looking for then on Aussie CAD is this is pretty decent for a buy to happen. We need prices to come down lower then for us to participate in the buys on the 60. Okay, which means the 60 needs to come down gradually, come down to this recent low, bounce up a little bit, come down lower, and that's when people will say, no one's going to sell right now. It's not possible. No one's going to sell over here. It's not possible. But once it makes a low this far, a lot of people will sell that low as a support and resistance movement. As more people pile up for the sell, and along the way, it's gradual like a snake. It's slowing down, slowing down, slowing down. That's the moment when we want to get interested to do this buy. So this is probably going to come up into later on into the week, going into next week. So when the price Thursday or Fridays, you'll have some buys on this. Okay, so keep a lookout for these buys on the weekend, going towards the weekend. Okay, so Aussie Swiss franc on the flip side. Okay, Aussie is weak, so this is a very, very strong buy in that case. Okay, this is a very, very strong buy in that case, which means we need this to come down much lower and lower, somewhere around this area where we can actually activate the buys. Okay, so any short-term player who's looking at this is thinking support resistance buy. If that fails, he goes through, I think it's going to still go for a buy. If that fails, it goes through, well, it's at almost like a double bottom or at the bottom of the range, because this is a range here, it's going to go for a buy. If that fails also, stop loss, right? Because stops are at the recent low. These are the recent lows. So stop loss gets hit. And once stop loss gets hit, it pulls back and makes a lower low beyond that. That's when everyone thinks it's not a buy, it's a sell. And that's when all the sellers start to activate, going for a sell, sell, sell. And as they're willing to, as they're getting rid of the Aussies at a lower price, at a lower price, at a lower price, they're getting rid of their Aussies. The larger players who are interested in buying Aussie are saying, oh, fantastic, I can get a decent discount. And a lot of people will be selling. That's when they can buy that big order and drive prices up higher again, because they have more orders to buy. Unfortunately, no one is buying it because they've taken all those orders, and that causes an off balance in the market, pushing the market upwards. Does that make sense? Is everyone following along? Okay, so that's the scenario for Aussie Swiss franc at this stage. Okay, so moving forward to the next pair. Let's take a look at this on Aussie yen. Okay, what do we have on the strength numbers for yen? Yen is neutral. It's just a +1, so that's okay. There's nothing important there for yen. So this same scenario, looking for a deeper pullback down until here to do the buys. So this is on standby still. Nothing there to be done as of right now. Aussie New Zealand. This is a pair that I was trying to sell since yesterday. I am actually still in the sell right now. This dotted line is where my sell was activated from, because I did see some temporary weakness come into the Aussie market yesterday, along with New Zealand's strength, that's still active. Okay, so when temporary weakness comes in, you want to go with the pair that matches up as a counter. Okay, in this particular case, if Aussie is temporarily weak, you want to match it up with a pair that's very strong. Okay, doing this little bit of extra work helps you to understand what pair is going to be very, very powerful, very, very strong, and what pair can you get behind with the least amount of friction. Okay, so as you can see, in Aussie New Zealand versus Aussie CAD, okay, I'm going to put arrows there. There's your Aussie CAD. Here's your Aussie Swiss. Here's your Aussie Swiss. And then your Aussie Yen on this side. Okay. Aussie Yen on this side. Now notice the difference between all the top three pairs and that Aussie New Zealand on the bottom. Notice how easy it is for Aussie New Zealand to do its sells versus all the other ones. It's because New Zealand is fighting it. And the moment Aussie picks up weakness, for example, like we were discussing earlier, that prices need to come down lower, like that, that means temporarily Aussie has to go weak. If Aussie temporarily has to go weak before the buy kicks in again, then I want to be on Aussie New Zealand as a seller. Okay. I know that might be a little bit complicated to wrap your head around that for a moment, but try to see if you can make sense of that. And obviously, if I'm not mistaken, these sessions are always recorded with Epic Street. You can always good to do that. So you can always revisit them and recap if you need to. Okay, let's see what the situation is with Aussie USD. Aussie USD, same scenario. It looks very, very aggressive. Its way up. What does US dollar have to say about this? The US dollar movement is +1, neutral, nothing. So again, for this thing, for us to go with the Aussie power, give us a price that's better. We cannot buy these high prices. It's just not feasible. Always look for a bargain, okay? Look for a bargain. Get a price lower, and when I say lower, expect to break something. If it breaks something, people switch directions. And to do a nice buy, you need people wrong-footed on the wrong direction based on emotions. Okay? All right. Let's take a look at the final pair here. I have Euro Aussie. Notice Aussie is now on the right side, so this chart is inversed. For Aussie to be strong, this chart needs to go downwards in this direction. Okay? Because it's the opposite. Now, same thing for this sell to work. For Aussie to be strong, we need a price at least higher than this price. We got to get price up there. Once prices get up there, we can then do the sell. Until then, there is no selling on this whatsoever. Okay, so it's on standby. So all of these temporary movements that we need is for Aussie to get weaker so we can do the buy. Hence, if you want to do something for the week ahead up until that point, Aussie New Zealand is the best pair to be selling on leading up to it. Does that make sense? Everyone with me? No one confused or lost hair trying to process that information? Okay, so it's a little bit of investigative work that you have to do to get an idea of what are the big boys trying to do and how can I have an edge knowing what they're trying to do. Okay? All right, so Aussie New Zealand as a hot pair for sells going into the next day. As we approached Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, most likely Thursday and Friday, we might have a potential for buys on Aussie again. Okay, if not on Monday. Okay, so keep that in mind. So I'm just very curious to see what if the elections do anything interesting today. Let's actually jump over to the US dollar and have a look at that. Okay, let's move on to the US dollar. Boom, boom, boom. US dollar. Okay, let me bump this up to the 60 minutes. Looks like the US dollar is weak. It's extremely weak right now. What is going on in the US? Let's have a look. Okay, we already saw Aussie USD. It was rising higher and higher and higher, but we need Aussie to come down before we can do the buy. So Aussie is not flying like Euro USD is, or Pound USD, or New Zealand USD. Okay, so Aussie USD is struggling to do any kind of a movement. That tells me it's preparing to come down. It's preparing to come down for the buy later on. Okay, we need that. We need that. But on the flip side, Euro USD is flying up higher and higher and higher. This is something my traders have traded today in the elite community during the London conference room. Here we go, November 6th, Euro USD. And a bunch of the traders made money on this, exited this position, making decent trades. These are, I believe, not too long ago, 33 minutes ago, exiting these trades. So a lot of my students here made a ton of money. And we're trying to still understand, did this money actually come in from the movement from Euro, or is it because the US is reacting to what could be happening with the elections? Okay, so that's something to keep track of. Now, notice everything in the US dollar is moving in a specific way. Aussie USD inclining upwards. Euro USD flying upwards. Pound USD higher highs upwards. Okay, New Zealand USD climbing up slowly upwards. USD CAD, it's inverse. Just temporarily, it's a down. So this one we're not going to count. And USD Swiss franc, this one is moving down. Okay, so all of these signs are telling you US dollar weak, US dollar weak, US dollar weak, except for USD CAD. Okay, apart from that, everyone is out there screaming US dollar weakness. So there's a sentiment in the market that has scared off the big banks, the big corporations, the hedge funds that are dumping the US dollars as of right now. They're not interested in holding they're not interested in holding their US dollar. Okay, things can change very, very quickly in the Forex market. So you got to be aware of when time comes, you got to switch over once some speeches are made and economics numbers come out. So these are temporary movements. You know, not to panic. I don't want any of you guys who are probably in the States to go sell your houses and be like, I'm done with this. I'm moving to, I don't know, Africa. So yeah, don't make sudden last-minute decisions like that. But try to always follow the money. Follow the money. Try to understand what is the market trying to do, and more importantly, what does that mean for you? Okay, as a trader, it is not your job to judge the economics. It is not your job to be biased towards economics. It is your job to follow the money and understand and interpret it to the best of your ability. That's a trader's job. You're not looking to buy at a decent price and hold. That's an investor's job. A trader's job is, I don't care what the price is, I am in, I turn a profit, I am out. So it doesn't matter the price, okay? So fluctuations in the market of the dollar getting weak or strong makes no difference to us as traders. Okay, so keep that thing in mind. All right, now let's move on to, so that's the US dollar. So we just wanted to take a quick peek at that to see what's actually happening. So across the board, we have US dollar weakness coming in right now as we speak. So this can come in handy. And if the US dollar weakness is coming in, what is some of the strongest pairs today? New Zealand, and we have Aussie. Okay, these two pairs can be decent pairs to work with, but both of those two pairs, Aussie USD and New Zealand USD seem to have trouble flying. They're not just flying upwards. So something is unusual there. I would not trust this US dollar weakness. That's temporary. Okay, I would be very, very cautious with what it's doing. I wouldn't be surprised if this whole thing turns around before the end of the day. Okay, so please keep an eye on it. Please use this as a study material. Okay, let's move on over to the group. So we take a look at the Aussie. We looked at USD. Let's look at another strength number. We're dealing with we looked at Aussie. Let's have a look at Swiss franc. Swiss franc is weak across the board. Let's have a look at them. CHF. Let's take a look. Okay, give me a second while it loads. Okay, so Swiss franc is supposed to be weak across the board, which means the chart is supposed to go this way. Okay, it's supposed to be a buy on all of these charts. Okay, for us to do a buy, we need a deeper pullback coming into the market. Something similar to USD Swiss franc. Okay, this is looking very, very good for a buy coming in. Okay, now this buy will only work very, very, very powerfully if the US dollar weakness suddenly steps away, which means it's just a matter of time that this thing can become a very strong buy. Okay, so it is coming down to a decent price. It is trying to make lower lows. It is going to entice more and more people to become sellers on this pair as it's breaking all these lows, as stop loss are getting hit. All these things activate sells, right? And as it goes lower, tries to hold a little bit, this will activate even more sellers as it holds below SNR. And that's when we start getting very, very interested to prepare for the buys, because there is no fundamental reason for dollar to be that weak. Okay? And if dollar is that weak, why isn't it showing up on Aussie and New Zealand group as well? Okay, why is it just doing it on a certain pairs and not across the board? Okay, so certain things to keep in mind. So as a recap for all of this stuff, make sure to do your Aussie New Zealand's for sells for today. Prepare for strong buys on USD Swiss franc going throughout the day. And then going into the end of the week, you want to be doing buys on pairs on Aussie group. Okay, you can choose any pair from the Aussie group to do your buys. You can even do CAD Swiss franc as a buy. This one looks pretty decent for a buy coming up soon too. Sorry, I'm in a resort and I think they're squeezing kids or something. You know, they're making children juice. So sorry about that. I don't know if you guys can hear the kids screaming in the background. Yeah, but yeah. So CAD Swiss franc can also be a decent pair for a buy. Let me take a look at what does CAD have to say in this whole situation. Where is the strength number? Okay, here we go. CAD is also neutral. It's just a -1. There's nothing really there. Okay? There's nothing there on CAD. Okay, so CAD Swiss franc can be a very, very decent buy as well. So any kind of a turnaround here would be, for me, an indication that prepare for buys. And that's a very good potential to make some money today. Okay, I'm not even talking about tomorrow or day after tomorrow. This is most likely going to happen today in the U.S. session. We're in the U.S. session right now. There's a high chance this is going to turn into a buy. Okay, so something to keep track of as well. That's a very, very important pair. Okay, so from all the pairs that you have now, you have a list of things to focus on. You want to gear up on, again, Aussie New Zealand, the Aussie group, CAD Swiss franc for a buy, if the US dollar stops becoming weak, then USD Swiss franc can be a very, very powerful buy, and it can go very, very far as well. Okay, so keep these pairs in mind. Let's move on to one more group before we call it. Let's go into, looked at Swiss franc. Let's take a look at euro. Okay, euro is a common favorite pair across the world. Let's take a look at what euro has to say. Here we go. Okay. Okay. Here we are. Here we are. Okay, so euro is weak on the strength meter, which means on the higher time frame, the world is trying to dump euros. They're trying to get rid of it. But for me to be interested in selling the euros, I need the exact same thing as we were talking for Aussie. I need to do a sell on euro Aussie, right? Okay, a second. Okay, we need to do a sell on euro Aussie. Wow, that's a lot of kids. Okay, we need to do a sell on euro Aussie, right? So we need price to come up higher. But the same thing is we want Aussie to be strong also. So as this price gets up to here, this thing can be a very, very strong sell as well. Okay, so this is another pair that I'm watching, but this won't happen today. It might drag into the Asian market today, if not going into the European market tomorrow, that this can be very interesting. So another pair that's hot for us to keep track of. Same thing with Euro USD. I wouldn't be surprised if the dollar stops getting weak. This can be a powerful sell as well. It's going to turn around to be a nice, decent sell. All we're waiting for is the US dollar to temporarily stop panicking and going into the weakness. As that thing stops, or a speech is made or something is made that calms the public down, that sell can be very strong, and the US dollar will go back into the strength. Okay, this is the perfect moment as the markets are showing a little bit of weakness where the world can say, okay, I knew it, and they hop onto the bandwagon of weak dollar. Okay, but don't forget, just like all these other countries, the US also knows how to play the game very, very well. Okay, their currencies, they do this very, very well, and everything is a orderly planned execution. Okay, it doesn't happen last minute out of panic and out of fear and out of greed. Everything is planned and it's orderly executed. Okay, just like in a bank, if you want to trade something upwards of $2, $3, $4, $5 billion, you can't just sit on your desk and click a buy or click a sell. You need to get authorization. You need to go to the proper channels. You got to have your manager sign off on it, the next manager sign off on it, and then you can start building your position slowly. But all of this is after the news comes out. Okay? You have to let that information play out. Okay? Because only then can you make an informed decision. You can't guess ahead of time. Does that make sense? So it takes time for the larger players to play, and if they're able to do it successfully, then you should be too, without having to react to sudden movements in the market. So hot pair again for me is all of the US dollars can become very, very strong, especially with Euro USD, USD Swiss franc. Okay, keep those things in mind. So going into tomorrow and day after tomorrow, we got Euro Aussie for a sell, or any of the Aussies. Going into today, the focus pairs are Aussie New Zealand for a sell, Euro USD possibly for a sell if the US dollar stops getting weak. Same thing with US dollar Swiss franc for a buy. Otherwise, CAD Swiss franc for a buy is going to be a nice one. It's going to be a nice one. Okay, so there you have it, guys. You have the entire group there on all the pairs that you can be looking at to be possibly trading. I hope you guys will do well on it. Take it slow, take it easy. Do not react, but actually plan for things ahead of time. So as things happen according to your plan, you execute it calmly. And if there's any questions, you're always free to email me at navin@urbanforex.com. Be more than happy to help. So until next time, guys, thank you. Again, my name is Navin Prithyani from urbanforex.com. Thank you, FX Street, for having me here. It's always a pleasure. I will see you all next month, same place, and most likely same time. Cheers, guys. Bye for now.